The story at Ardea, where the Romans were fighting, two Roman leaders, Tarquin and Palatine, spoke together one evening. Palatine described his beautiful young wife, Lucrece, in such glowing terms that Tarquin's passions were aroused. The next morning, Tarquin left the Roman host and journeyed to Calatium, where the unsuspecting Lucrece welcomed him as one of her husband's friends. As Tarquin told her many tales of Palatine's prowess on the battlefield, he looked admiringly at Lucrece and decided that she was the most beautiful woman in Rome. In the night, while the others of the household were asleep, Tarquin lay restless. Caught between desire for Lucrece and dread of being discovered, to the consequent loss of his honor, he wandered aimlessly about his chamber. On the one hand, there was his position as a military man who should not be the slave of his emotions. On the other hand was his overwhelming desire. He feared the dreadful consequences that might be the result of his lustful deed. His disgrace would never be forgotten. Perhaps his own face would show the mark of his crimes and the advertisement linger on even after death. He thought for a moment that he might try to woo Lucrece but decided that such a course would be to no avail. She was already married and was not mistress of her own desires. Again he considered the possible consequences of his deed. At last, emotion conquered reason. As Tarquin made his way to Lucrece's chamber, many petty annoyances deterred him. The locks on the doors had to be forced. The threshold beneath the door grated under his footstep. The wind threatened to blow out his torch. He pricked his finger on a needle. Tarquin ignored these omens of disaster. In fact, he misconstrued them as forms of trial that only made his prize more worth winning. When he reached the chamber door, Tarquin began to pray for success. Realizing, however, that heaven would not countenance his sin, he declared that love and fortune would henceforth be his gods. Entering the room, he gazed at Lucrece in sleep. When he reached forward to touch her breast, she awoke with a cry of fear. He told her that her beauty had captured his heart and that she must submit to his will. First he threatened Lucrece with force, telling her that if she refused to submit to him, he would not only kill her but also dishonor her name. His intention was to murder one of her slaves, place him in her arms, and then swear that he killed them because he had seen Lucrece embracing the man. If she yielded, however, he promised he would keep the whole affair secret. Lucrece began to weep and plead with Tarquin. For the sake of her hospitality, her husband's friendship, Tarquin's position as a warrior, he must pity her and refrain from this deed. Her tears serving only to increase his lust, Tarquin smothered her cries with the bed linen while he raped her. Shame-ridden, he stole away, leaving Lucrece desolate. She, horrified and revolted, tore her nails and hoped the dawn would never come. In a desperate fury, she railed against the night. Its darkness and secrecy had ruined her. She was afraid of the day, for surely her sin would be revealed. Still worse, through her fall, Palatine would be forever shamed. It was opportunity that was at fault, she claimed, working for the wicked and against the innocent. Time, the handmaiden of ugly night, was hand in hand with opportunity, but time could work for Lucrece now. She implored time to bring misery and pain to Tarquin. Exhausted from her emotional tirade, Lucrece fell back on her pillow. She longed for a suicide weapon. Death alone could save her soul. As the dawn broke, she began to consider her death. Not until she had told Palatine the complete details of her fall would she take the step, however, for Palatine must revenge her on Tarquin. Lucrece called her maid and asked for pen and paper. Writing to Palatine, she asked him to return immediately. When she gave the messenger the letter, she imagined that he knew of her sin. For he gave her a sly side glance. Surely everyone must know by now, she thought. Her grief took new channels, studying a picture of the fall of Troy. She tried to find the face showing greatest grief. Hecuba, who gazed mournfully at Priam in his dying moments, seemed the saddest. Lucrece grieved for those who died in the Trojan War. All because one man could not control his lust. Enraged, she tore the painting with her nails. Calatine, returning home, found Lucrece robed in black. With weeping and lamentations, she told him of her shame, but without naming her violator. After she had finished, Calatine, driven half mad by rage and grief, demanded the name of the traitor. Before revealing it, Lucrece drew promises from the assembled soldiers that the loss of her honor would be avenged. Then, naming Tarquin, she drew a knife from her bosom and stabbed herself. Heartbroken, Calatine cried that he would kill himself as well, but Brutus, his friend, stepped forward and argued that woe was no cure for woe. It was better to revenge Lucrece. The soldiers left the palace to carry the bleeding body of Lucrece through Rome. The indignant citizens banished Tarquin and all his family.